Disclaimer, I am not a licensed medical professional. This podcast is not intended to replace real medical support from a mental health professional or other licensed medical practitioner. If you are in crises and need immediate support, call 911 or reach out to Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988. Hello and welcome to Dare to Talk, where we strive to bring some positivity to your day. I'm Dare. Let's talk. Before we get into the meat of our episode, the nitty gritty of what we're going to be talking about today, I'm going to invite you in joining me in a mindful moment. Today, our mindful moment is actually going to be the use of a grounding technique that I have used for myself rather frequently, that I've used with students that I've had several times, that I use with friends that I have rather frequently who have anxiety and other things like that. And we are just going to go through this grounding technique and get some practice with it. So the grounding technique is called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding method. And I'm going to have us start by taking a really quick deep breath in our nose and out our mouth. Ready? Breathe in and out. Okay. It starts off with sight. 5 things that you can see. So I want you to look around your space, look out your window, look around you and see 5 things that you can see and name those 5 things out loud for me, or name them in your head if you're not in a place where you can speak out loud. Just name them. 5 things you can see. For me, I can see my coffee cup sitting in front of me. I can see in my camera behind me my happy, sad emotion spots from Little Spot of Emotions. I can see my ring light. I can see my microphone that's right in front of me. And I can see my neck stretcher that I have for stretching out my neck and helping with neck pain. So those are my 5 things that I can see. What are 5 things that you guys can see? Then it goes to 4 and the sense of touch. 4 things that you can touch, that you can feel in your space. It can be stuff on your person. It can be stuff in your immediate area. You just have to be able to feel them and focus in on how they feel. So I'm reaching out and touching my mouse right now, and it feels bumpy and rough. And so that's one thing I can touch. I can touch my hair. It's nice and silky and soft and smooth. So that's 2. I can touch my earrings. They're hard and smooth and metal. That's 3. And I can touch my favorite beanie. It's a little rough, but it's floppy and flexible. And that's 4. So those are 4 things that I have in my space that I wanted to touch, that I could touch. What are 4 things that you have in your space that you can touch? Then it goes into our hearing, our sense of hearing, and 3. Listen closely. What are 3 things that you can hear in your environment? For me right now, I can hear the whir of my air purifier. I can hear my dog breathing on the ground next to me. And I can hear myself talking. So those are 3 things that I am hearing. What are 3 things that you guys can hear? And then it goes to 2 and things that you can smell. My nose is really stuffed up right now. So this one's a little bit harder for me. If you're having a stuffy nose, it's going to be hard for you to smell stuff. That's okay. I know that I smelled now. I sprayed my spray and I can kind of smell my spray. And then I can still kind of smell what I had for lunch, which was very tasty gnocchi, bacon and chicken and gnocchi. So those are the two things that I'm smelling right now. What are two things that you guys can smell? And hopefully your noses aren't stuffed and you're smelling things a little bit better. Then it goes to our sense of taste. And one. You only have to taste one item. For when I'm working with smaller children, sometimes I'll have mints and stuff on hand for this one. I'll have them taste a mint or a piece of candy like a Skittles. For me right now, what I'm tasting is I brushed my teeth after eating lunch, so I'm tasting toothpaste. What is something you guys can taste right now? And then we can close it off with a deep breath in through our nose and out through our mouths. And that is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique. Like I said, I use this very, very frequently with lots of people in lots of different circumstances. And I talked about this on my most recent blog post that released today, February 4th, over on daretotalk.blog. So if you guys want to go check that out, it covers a lot of the same topics we talk about in the podcast. But some people are better at reading and taking in information. Some people are better at hearing and taking information in. So I approach them both a little bit differently. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about coping strategies. So I was going to talk about this episode last week, and I was having a really hard time with my symptoms. As I stated last week, I have multiple sclerosis. As one of my symptoms for multiple sclerosis, I get pseudo-seizures. I was having really, really bad pseudo-seizures last week, and so I had to skip over this episode, pivot on the spot, and think of something else to do. And I think it turned out actually really, really well. I forgot that my cane was sitting behind me, so you guys can see my cane. That's for mobility and stuff. Sometimes when I'm having a lot of pseudo seizures, I have an issue with mobility, so that's there if you are seeing me in video. But they gave me some time to really actually put out a really good blog post on these coping strategies and to really think about what I wanted to say about coping strategies this week. And so I'm really, really feeling very confident coming into this episode. And one of the first things that I wanted to do and wanted to talk to you guys about was a book, actually. This book is called Fighting Invisible Tigers by Earl Hip. And this is the 4th edition, I believe. Yeah, 4th edition, revised and updated. It's for stress management for teens. I like it for teens whenever I'm working with older kids, but I also really, really enjoy it for adults as well. If you want something that's kind of an easier read that really talks about ways to help manage stress. This book is all about stress management, and it's beautiful because stress is a huge, huge part of my life and a part of our lives in general. Stress is a part of just like natural living. And so having stress management skills on hand is something that's really, really important for people who have chronic illness, for people who have mental health disorders, and just in general. Being able to know how to manage stress is vital. And that's kind of the process that we've been going through is first, let's identify what mental health is. Let's identify what stress is and how it interacts with our body. Let's talk about one of the first things that we need, which is our breathing, which we've talked about. And now we're going to start getting into our actual stress management skills and our stress management things. And that's where coping skills really comes into play. And I really love this book, Fighting Invisible Tigers, by Earl Hip, for its descriptions of stress management, but also for its descriptions of coping strategies, which is our topic for today. Coping strategies is something that I feel is very frequently misunderstood. When we are often thinking of coping strategies, we're thinking of things like our 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method, our breathing, our, hey, let's go for a quick walk. Hey, instead of doing this, let's take a deep breath and try to do this. And when we are explaining coping strategies in school systems, we're usually giving kids like index cards to write specific coping strategies that are useful for classrooms on them. But we're forgetting that coping strategies are a little bit more than just this list of prescribed things that we could possibly do, that we could possibly choose from. Coping strategies are temporary breaks from stress. They're temporary things that we can use to cope with the stress that we're dealing with until we are in a place where we can then manage the stress. They're not the same. Coping is not the same as stress management. It is a temporary moment to get in the right headspace to then come back and say, okay, now I can actually take on this stress, solve this problem, manage this a little bit better. They're not the same. It's not stress management, it is coping. And coping is meant to be temporary. Its level of temporariness changes, but it is meant to be temporary. And not all coping skills or coping strategies are the same, and not all coping strategies are particularly healthy. It's really comes to the level of coping that you're doing and the intent that you have of coming back to manage the issue. And that's part of the reason why I really, really love Earl Hibb's book, Fighting Invisible Tigers, because he really helps to just kind of like break this down and talk about why these different coping strategies may or may not be healthy. And it does really face it in the light of our intent. So the first coping strategy that we have that is arguably the healthiest coping strategy is distraction. We need a quick distraction from stress sometimes. When we go in and we're having a lot of stress, or there's something that is really, really stressing us out, and we're just beating our head against the wall, trying to come up with an answer or a solution, or just doing this thing, and it's not working, that can cause more issues. Sometimes we need a distraction. And so when we're giving out these lists of things that we can look at, that we can put down on a postcard that we can carry with us, or a card that we can carry with us to our classes, so that we have our emergency coping strategies with us that we've agreed on, those coping strategies are all very short-term, quick little distractions. They are things like take a walk around the hallway of our school, which is stuff that I've done with students before. Going and shooting basketball hoops, taking a break to take a few deep breaths, doing our 5 4 3 2 1 grounding technique for anxiety, or having a little thumb thing or hand thing that we can do, playing with a fidget toy for a moment, taking a break to go and color something for a moment. Those are all really quick distractions from stress. But there are some longer distractions that we can have too, not quite as quick. We can go for a nature walk out in the wilderness. We can take a break and go for a hike up in the woods. We can take a break and play video games for a little bit of time. We can take a break and go read a book for a little bit. We can get our distraction in by going and checking on social media, or by looking at our Facebook and scrolling through that, or looking at reels, or watching a episode or two of TV, or taking a day to just kind of have a break. And these distractions can range in time. They don't have to be quick little breaths and then I'm back. We sometimes need longer distractions, and we sometimes need these distractions on a more frequent basis. So for me, my distraction is playing video games. I'm a really big video game player, and playing video games is something that's really, really important to me. I enjoy it enough that I stream every Tuesday, live stream on Twitch every Tuesday. so that I can get in my distraction time, but also still produce content for people and keep in touch with people. And that's my time that I can step away from some stress in my life and engage with people in a really positive kind of way. Whenever I'm having distractions that I don't want to stream, I still go and play video games sometimes, or I read. I'm a very avid reader. I really enjoy different book franchises and getting a new book, and it's one of the things that I find pleasurable in my life. My father is also a big video gamer. His distraction in out his life has always been his video games, and he has a set time from 5 o'clock till 7 o'clock that is his video game time, and you don't interrupt his video game time because that is his distraction. And if he doesn't get that distraction for a set period of time, he gets really, really cranky because his stress kind of takes over. So he actually works his distraction into his day and into his schedule. He has a high stress life, high stress situations. He needs his distractions. This is his distraction time. My mom, she has her distractions. She likes to do things like crochet, knit. She, in one of her big distractions, that is a stressor for me, but a distraction for her, is thrift store shopping. She loves to go out thrifting. That's a distraction for her, going and thrifting. She doesn't have to buy anything. She just wants to go look around. She very often buys things, but it's more of, I need the distraction from stress. I'm going to go look around. Spending time with family, playing board games. My partner, huge board game player. That's his distraction from stress, is to go play board games. If he's having a rough time, he's going to take a step back and he's going to go play board games with his family and friends. And that's their distractions. So distractions can be a little bit longer. They can be hour, 2 hours, quick breath, that's 5 minutes, or take a whole day to take a break and go have some distractions away for a whole day. But here's what makes it a distraction instead of avoidance or the other method of stress coping skills, coping strategies, which we're going to get into in a little bit. It's temporary. And you had the intention of coming back to the problem. I really, really like the way that Earl Hip puts this in his book. He is saying distractions are, I'll deal with it later. I don't want to deal with it right now. I can't deal with it right now. If I keep dealing with it right now, it's going to be a problem. I will deal with it later, but I do have every intention of coming back and dealing with it. I just need a quick moment, distract myself from the stress. Now I'm going to come back. I'm going to deal with it. So then we have our avoidance techniques. And our avoidance coping strategies are not particularly healthy, but I'm not going to go and say that they're really unhealthy either, because there are some things that we do want to avoid. There are some things in life that if we are trying to deal with it, it's not going to be safe for us, physically, mentally, emotionally safe. We really want to pride our physical and mental, emotional safety above all else. We need to be safe to be able to manage our stress. If this is not a safe situation, then yes, avoid it. Avoid it, avoid it, avoid it. If it is not safe, if it is going to hurt you, avoid it until you can get to a place where you can deal with it safely. But unless we are in those rare cases where we're dealing with something that is going to harm us physically, mentally, or emotionally, avoidance in itself is not healthy. Avoidance is described by Earl Hip, again in his book Fighting Invisible Tigers. Love this book. He describes it as, I might deal with it sometime. I'm not trying to completely and totally get away with it. I'm not trying to completely and totally just never, ever, ever have to deal with it. Might get to it eventually, but I don't have any immediate plans of getting back to it. I don't want to deal with it, so I'm not going to deal with it. One of my best cases for avoidance, and I have spoken to this person, I have permission to share this from this person, but one of my best cases of avoidance is people who are playing hooky sometimes just because they don't want to deal with work. So one of my best friends,
is having a really, really hard time with working. She's got disabilities that make working kind of more difficult for her. She doesn't want to go to work. She doesn't like going to work because the people at her work stress her out. She gets stressed out from the job in itself. She doesn't like feeling like she's going to get in trouble. And so she avoids. And part of the way that she avoids is calling out sick. Even if she's only feeling like a little bit of a tickle. She's not really sick. She's just kind of like generally like, I'm tired. I didn't sleep very well. I don't really want to do this. I'm just going to call out sick and I'm going to play hooky. It becomes a problem though, because she plays sick so frequently that now she's getting in trouble for attendance. That adds more stress. And it makes work more unpleasant. So now she still has to go to work in an unpleasant, stressful situation and still wants to call out sick. And if she calls out sick, she's going to keep getting in trouble. And then it's going to keep getting worse. And eventually, it could lead to getting fired, which could cause money issues, which could cause more stress. Another way that people do avoidance is avoiding talking to people who they don't particularly like or don't want to deal with or who they've had conflicts with. I myself have engaged in avoidance behaviors rather recently. I'm in a living situation right now that I don't find particularly pleasant. And there was a situation with my, hopefully, knock on wood, future sister-in-law from my partner's side. And I didn't want to deal with that. I was having a lot of anxiety. I didn't want to potentially cause a rift in that family. I didn't want to face that fear and anxiety that I was having. I needed to take some time to get my anxiety under control. But in the meanwhile, I was avoiding the person, I was avoiding the situation, I was avoiding talking about it. And it made the situation worse because then it led to a larger anxiety attack on my part rather than just getting it done and over with. And it led to conflict. And eventually, I couldn't avoid it anymore. I needed to talk to this person. And the situation wasn't as bad as I had worked myself up into thinking that it could have been if I had just not avoided it and gone and dealt with it in the first place. And so that's part of where avoidance becomes issues, is that avoidance can add to our stress because it takes things that we could have dealt with in a more healthier method and amplifies the issues around them very often until they become bigger problems or bigger stressors in our lives. One thing that is considered avoidance that people don't often see or think of as avoidance is people who are overachievers, people who will throw themselves completely and totally into their work, into their school, into being successful at their businesses or whatever it is they're trying to do, to the detriment of their home life and personal lives and interpersonal relationships. So we see the overachiever, we see the person who is driven and hardworking and giving their all to their job, and we want to applaud that and praise that and say, yeah, this person is such a hardworking, driven person, but then we don't see the back end of all of the family life that they are avoiding, or the struggles at home that they don't want to go home and deal with, or the financial issues that they're trying to avoid looking at or focusing on because they are scared and don't want to focus in on that. And that can be a little bit of a problem. On the reverse side, though, another form of avoidance is procrastination. The people who are like, I don't want to do this, so I'm gonna go scroll on my phone until, oh no, that deadline is coming up. And that can cause an issue too, because the things that we don't want to deal with, and we're putting them off and we're putting them off and we're putting them off, well, now we're running out of time to be able to do it. We could miss deadlines, we can miss work opportunities, we can fail classes because we didn't do our homework, we can have all of these other stressors adding up because we didn't want to deal with the thing that we had in front of us right now, whatever it was. I have to admit that right now I'm procrastinating on filling out SNAP benefits. I need financial support. I need support. I need help. a huge stressor in my life is not having the money to be able to go grocery shopping and get the nutritious food that I need to be able to help with my disability, to trying to like lose weight and things like that. Well, healthier foods are often more expensive, and so I need a little bit more support. And so SNAP benefits would be really, really beneficial for me. But I've been avoiding filling out the paperwork because I'm really scared of, one, the rejection, which I've already been rejected for once before because of miscommunications and paperwork. But two, I don't want to fill out the paperwork. The paperwork is annoying. It's stressful. I don't want to do it. But the longer I procrastinate on not doing it, the worse off it's going to be for me, because every time I don't do it, and every time I have to go grocery shopping, which is once a week, then that's a new stress, because I'm looking at the money going, oh my gosh, I need help. I need support. I can't keep doing this. I have to go fill out these benefits. And it just becomes this vicious cycle of stress from shopping, procrastination because I don't want to deal with SNAP, looking at SNAP going, I need to do this, procrastination because I don't want to do it, stress from shopping. It just vicious cycle. And so avoidance, if we're avoiding things that are going to harm us physically, mentally, or emotionally, sure, avoid. But if we're avoiding it because we don't want to deal with it, because it's stressful and scary and we don't want to deal with it, that can become detrimental. It can be an issue for us. It's not particularly healthy. And it leads into the next stage of coping strategies, which is definitely unhealthy. It is the most unhealthy coping strategy that we have out there, which is escape. It is time for a terrible dare joke. This terrible dare joke is brought to you from Bayan from all the way up in Alaska. And it goes, why did the chicken join the band? Because it had the drumsticks. Uh-huh. No. I thought that was a cute one. Come on. If you would like to submit a joke to be considered for Terrible Dare Jokes, you can send them to me via email at dare2talk.blog. Dare the number 2 talk.blog. Or you can send it to me at dare2talk4@gmail.com. Both of them will be in the descriptions. I look forward to seeing you on next week's Terrible Dare Joke. I do want to give a quick disclaimer on escape that it could possibly be a little bit triggering for some people who have had escapist behaviors in their lives for themselves or people around them. This topic can be kind of sensitive. If you are somebody who needs support, who is experiencing escapist behaviors right now, or knows somebody who is experiencing escapist behaviors, there's support. 988 Suicide Prevention Hotline is wonderful for support. You have counselors that are out there in the world. If you have insurance, most insurances take counseling. I have used BetterHelp before, and BetterHelp has different payment options based on what you can afford with jobs and other things like that. There are resources out in this world for help for escapist behaviors. Escapist behaviors are very damaging at times. Very, very damaging. And what escapist behaviors are I don't want to deal with this ever. I'm not going to deal with it. You can't make me deal with it. I'm going to get away from it now. And they look different for everybody. But some of the biggest escapist behaviors that we have are drug and alcohol addictions, other risky addictions and behaviors, people who are shopaholics or who go to other anonymous meetings to help get support with their addictions. Self-harm and suicidal ideation are escapist behaviors. Running away from a situation with no intention of ever going back is escapist behavior. And other forms of escapist behaviors are things like dropping out of school or throwing yourselves so much into your academic behaviors and academic things that you don't have time to do anything else. You leave literally no time for anything else. Lying to people, chronically lying in order to get out of trouble or to make your life seem better than what it is. Or hurting other people, being a bully or an abuser to keep yourself safe from that harm, to inflict that harm onto other people. Those are all considered to be severe escapist behaviors. Escapist behaviors damage relationships. They damage relationships with friends, they damage relationships with family, they damage your own relationship with yourself. And escapist behaviors are very often extreme because they're seeking that escape from the stresses in their lives, and that's the only way they can think of how to do it. But those ways that they're escaping will often cause more stressors, so they have more things that they need to escape from, and so they will just keep escaping and keep escaping and keep escaping, and it will create this vicious cycle of letting people in. Oh no, it's scary, now I'm going to escape and run away. Escapist behaviors are also often people who have had traumas in their lives, mental health disabilities, or severe life changes that are happening very quickly, very large life changes that are happening very quickly. We'll often see escapist behaviors rise up around people who have certain types of mental disabilities and people who have a sudden illness or change in their lives that is quick, or who are experiencing homelessness, or who are experiencing other major financial problems or medical concerns. We can sometimes see escapist behaviors come up then. We also, unfortunately, do see escapist behaviors in young children sometimes too. Those escapist behaviors look different when kids are engaging in escapist behaviors. It's often things like violence towards people that care about them, or violence in a room setting with the intention of hurting physically or emotionally the person who is trying to support them, or very frequently, quite literal escaping, running away, and what we in the schools would call eloping from a classroom or from a building to get away from the thing that they don't want to deal with. And those are all also very equally dangerous. They can pose a risk to the child, a risk to staff, a risk to family and loved ones. It can cause problems. Escapist behaviors are something that definitely do need intervention to deal with, and medical professional intervention in a lot of cases. It's not something that we can really break on our own very often. And if you are experiencing escapist behaviors, really, honestly, please seek help, because your story matters. I know for my own personal story, and again, this is a topic that is sensitive for a lot of people. I have myself in the past, not particularly recently, but in the past, definitely struggled with ideation and a history of self harm. And I am in no way, shape, or form advocating those at all. It is not good. It is not healthy. It caused a lot of problems. It still to this day causes problems. It is not something that I am at all saying is okay or good. It is not. Don't do it. There are other things that are better. Taking those distractions, those little moments, calling on your support network, taking yourself to medical professionals who can give you that support that you need. It is important that you are around to be able to share your story, because people need to hear those stories. They need to hear that people who have been in dark places and who have wanted to get away and wanted to run and escape from what they were dealing with have been able to pull through and come back and be okay. And so escapist strategies are not healthy. We don't want to do them. If we are feeling like we are going to do them, we need to get help. And your story matters, and you matter. And I hope that you'll hear that and you'll listen and you'll get the help. So, with that being said, those are the 3 kind of general coping strategies that people will often use. They'll often use distraction, avoidance, or escape. And as stated, escaping, no. Avoidance, if it's harmful to our mental, physical health, yes. If not, no, because it can cause more issues. Distraction, wholeheartedly. And distractions, again, they don't have to be short little quick breaths or quick little, I'm done and back to the stress. One method that we use also sometimes for distractions that I forgot to mention earlier that I'm going to mention right now is for people who are suffering from chronic illnesses, who have a lot of fatigue. A distraction method that we could use is a timer system where we can work on our stress for a little bit and then take a break for a little bit to go distract ourselves. That's something that my mom and I have done quite frequently when we're having to work on stuff that is stressful, that we don't want to, that are going to be important for us, but we need really quick distractions from them. Set a timer. That works very often in classrooms too, sometimes with smaller children, just giving them a break from distraction, from whatever it is that they don't want to deal with, and letting them take some time to play with a toy or get a video that is something that they really, really enjoy. So I hope that you guys have learned something about coping strategies today, that coping strategies are meant to be temporary, that they fall under 3 categories of distraction, avoidance, or escape, and that if you are experiencing escapist behaviors, I implore you, please seek help. Please share in the comments or email me on any time that you have tried to avoid a situation and it turned out not being the best thing for you to do and dealing with it actually was better, or distraction techniques that you guys use. What are things that you guys use to help distract yourselves? Or comment on a distraction technique that was kind of interesting that you guys saw being used, that you thought, hey, that was kind of cool, and might use for yourself in the future. I hope to see you guys next week in Dare to Talk, and I dare you to talk about how you're really feeling today.